This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1620, Off the Racks.
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek, uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Adam Murdo.
I'm Chris Everly.
And I'm Danny O'Brien.
And welcome to the show.
Woo!
Chris deserves credit as studio warm-up man, you know it? He's on his camera, dancing away in his den in his house and shaking his backside for all the world to see.
my bony white ass there. I just, I'm expressing how happy I'm to be on board here with all of you.
Well, your enthusiasm and your butt shaking is infectious, Chris.
All right, so yes, this is our Off the Racks episode where we will review some books we've pre-selected, we've all read. In this episode, we're going to talk, and of course, spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about specifically Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, Rebirth #1 from DC, from Valiant, Faith #1, the ongoing, and from Archie Comics, Betty and Veronica #1. And we also may have some other books to talk about later on. But first, a few words from our sponsors. First, this episode is brought to you by Discounts Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. As we always want to mention, whenever you pre-order any books through DCBS right away, all your Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, and Image books are 40% off cover price. Most other publishers between 20 and 35% off cover price. And they will also run many specials where issues will be anywhere from 45, 50, 60, even up to 75% off cover price. They continue to run many bundles, including the Rebirth bundles, where they'll have a bunch of books. And usually at this point, they're half off cover price. You buy them all as a bundle. Also have other bundles for some Vertigo books, DC young adults books, Marvel Now books, all kinds of bundles, so check that out. Also, they continue to have their half-off cover price, all new DC and Marvel trades and hardcovers. You can get your bags and boards with them. You can get your books shipped to you weekly, twice monthly, or monthly. They're great. We've used them for quite a long time. Discounts Comic Book Service, dcbservice.com. And to have our next sponsor, Mr. Murdo, the honor is now yours.
All right, many thanks, Monsieur Pantalones. French and Spanish together there. There's a little bit of Catalan, perhaps.
No, they're both Latin-based.
True. Viva la romance. The second sponsor for this episode is the Collection Drawer Company, creator of the miracle product, the Drawer Box Storage System, which is an improvement on the old concept of the cardboard long box comic book storage container. The difference there being, with a drawer box, you can pull a drawer out of the front of the box instead of having to remove a lid from the top of the box to access the comics within, as was the case with the old-fashioned long box. An improvement if you happen to have a lot of comic book storage boxes stacked one atop the other. With the drawer box, you can just pull the drawer out the front of a box that's on the bottom of a stack. You don't have to worry about moving everything that's on the top to access your collection. It's very handy indeed, especially if you've got a large collection to organize. They offer their drawer boxes in a variety of shapes and sizes. You can get them to accommodate magazines, LP records, action figures, etc., etc. And they also offer for sale accessories such as the box locks anchors, which improve the stability of boxes and allows you to stack them even higher for better long-term stacking strength. And there's also the box sort upright dividers, which go in between sections of comics within a drawer box, which prevent the contents from falling over, stop spine cracking, and let you organize your collection still better by creating sections for different titles. And need I mention, if you happen to need to buy a lot of drawer boxes to house an extensive collection, they offer volume discounts for large orders. For full details, you can visit their website at collectiondrawer.com.
Excellent. So
magnificent, sir.
Yes, thank you once again, Mr. Murdo. I also want to mention, quick announcement at the front of the show, that, like I mentioned in the last couple episodes, we are doing a sort of low-key special birthday episode for Jamie D's 50th birthday on September 5th of this year, 2016. We've been soliciting listeners to send in whether a voicemail to our voicemail line. We get that number there. The voice number is 267-702-6642 if you want to leave a voicemail. Or you can also send in an MP3 file if you want to record your own to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. We've got a couple of those, and we just want to put out a special 50th birthday episode for Jamie. So if you want to contribute to that, you can certainly do so, but please get those in before the end of this August. So we'll get that all compiled for the episode. And in the CDS mailbag from longtime listener and friend of all podcasts, Michael Batzel sent us an airbrushed thing he did of Jamie D. I'm going to show it to the people right now. He's going to take a look at that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, magnificent.
That is fantastic.
Wow. Kudos. Wow.
Jamie D's shining visage as Captain America mourns his passing in the foreground, and his shield shines overhead, substituting for the moon in the background.
Yes. Michael's been very good over the years. He's come to many of our shows and does good work. So thank you very much, Michael. That's very much appreciated for that.
Yes, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. Any other things before we get into the reviews here?
No, Pants, I just want to mention, I think it's a wonderful idea what you're spearheading here with the Jamie D. tribute. Well done, sir.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
a great idea.
Like I mentioned before, these anniversaries of people's passings, this year I had several bunched together. It just really knocked me out. I just wanted to do something nice, and 50th birthday seemed to be nice, so just seemed like the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
All right, well, then let's jump right into it. Where should we start?
How about Birds of Prey?
Okay. I will read this list, and we'll all give our reviews.
Excellent.
And we use the time-honored buy, borrow, pants standard. Of course, buy means you think it's great. If you suggested, borrow means, you're not so sure. Pants means, awful pants. Long story about how we got to the pants, but suffice to say, unfortunately, of course, involved me. All right. Okay, so Batgirl, and by the way, all these books came out on the same day, July 20th. Just a little bit of trivia over there. Okay, so from DC, Batgirl and the Birds of Prey Rebirth #1, written by Julie Benson and Shauna Benson with art by Claire Rowe. Who is Oracle? Chapter 1. Batgirl and Black Canary are together again, working a case that strikes right at the heart of their partnership. Someone's uncovered the greatest secret Barbara Gordon ever kept. Her time as Oracle, the most powerful hacker on the planet. And not only do they know her secret, they're using her name to sell dangerous information to criminals. Now, one of those deals has brought some major heat to Gotham City. Helena Bertinelli is out of Spiral, wearing the hood of the Huntress and making mafia blood run in the streets. Everything you thought was hidden will be revealed if the Oracle has their way. All right. And, of course, I want to give some full disclosure. Julie's been a listener of the show for years. She's been on the podcast. We've all, of course, talked with her over the years in some way or another. I actually got to meet her out in L.A. and San Diego. So I was wondering, gee, could I be objective to this? Well, turns out I can't, because I give this a buy. This was a really great first issue.
Okay. I echo that. This is also a buy from me.
I give it a buy as well.
Yeah, I gave it a buy, too.
Yeah. Well, I was very much looking forward to this. I think we've all mentioned we've all been fans of the Birds of Prey over the years in its various incarnations. And yeah, I just love it. And for a first, and this also is Julie and Shauna's first comic they've ever written together. So I really did enjoy it. And I mean, there's a great intro to all the characters here. They all get their time on screen, so to say. There's the right balance of, the exposition, of the dialogue. There's good humor. There's good action. The artwork was, I'm not sure if Claire Rowe's done much before, but this was really cool artwork. I loved the expressions on Batgirl when she's fighting the thugs on the rooftop, when she realizes that someone's using her name Oracle. You see her expression, and she goes from 0 to 60 just, right away again. Who are these? Who said this to you? Just really really cool stuff. And of course, seeing the Huntress out of Spiral, really great. I just really like this book. I'm looking for, and I actually also got the second, the next issue, which is out, issue number 1. So I've already read that, so enjoying that. So looking forward to this very, very much. Bye.
Murd, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, this is a return to form of sorts for a fan favorite character, Barbara Gordon. I really love the angle that the Benson sisters found for this first arc of the Rebirth series, i.e., the mysterious new Oracle as a sort of antagonist, and Barbara Gordon taking very personally the fact that someone who's acting as information broker to criminals is taking advantage of not only her name and reputation, but also some of her files, some of the information that she worked hard to accumulate. Almost the first half of the issue is the whole thing is from Babs's point of view, but it's forcing her to reconfront a part of her backstory that was perforce, I think, at the beginning of this whole New 52 post-Flashpoint chapter of DC continuity, sort of given short shrift. In the first issue of Gail Simone's post-Flashpoint Batgirl series, we were told in a sort of a recap of Batgirl's post-Flashpoint history that, that whole thing with her getting wounded by the Joker and that Killing Joke incident and being crippled for a while, that still happened, because we at DC still want to make a disappointing animated movie out of that to make some money. But other than that, she got better later, and now she's back in her costume and jumping around fighting crime as Batgirl. Yay! And I think that Gail Simone had some mixed feelings about that herself, but was willing to go along with it, understood that the character needed to move forward here in this new regime, and so just moved forward kind of quickly and unceremoniously from Batgirl's past as Oracle and launched straight into Bat Gordon's new career as Batgirl again. But then the Benson sisters are kind of making up for some lost time there and kind of forcing Barbara Gordon to confront that chapter in her life by bringing it back to the forefront by having this new person take up her Oracle identity and use it for wrong. And so not only does that force Barbara to reconfront that chapter in her past, it also gives her a perfect excuse to get the band back together, so to speak. So we get to see post-Flashpoint Dinah Lance, the Black Canary, show up. The interactions between those two are great, like old friends and partners who still have a good feel for each other. The patter between them is amusing. And then Huntress being thrown in there as the wild card. They do a good job of smoothing over her transition from the excellent Grayson series into this new role that she will play as sort of the team hothead of this new incarnation of the Birds of Prey. So, yes, I like the way they characterize Barbara Gordon. I like the way they stress her intelligence, her very cerebral approach to crime fighting, how she kind of mentally goes through and justifies each and every different punch or combination she uses and the reason why she chooses it in a fight context, and how that whole her sense of self-possession and control over the situation just kind of crumbles when she learns that there's a new Oracle around, and that's the reason why these crooks she's beating in the opening scene are present at what would be the scene of a crime, because they were tipped off by this upstart new Oracle. The Benson sisters have turned in a great script here for their first comic book scripting experience. They weren't exactly mentored by Jeff Johns, but he sponsored their recruitment into the DC stable of writers. So they've kind of been answering to him, more or less. And you can sort of see, and again, I'm sure he didn't actually doctor any of their scripts or anything, but you can sort of see a little bit of his writing style in the way that they script things. So if you're a fan of Jeff Johns' scripting style, this is sort of in the same vein. Just the way that Barbara's internal monologue is structured, and also just some of the visual storytelling tricks that they use here. Like there's one scene where Babs Gordon is sitting in her wheelchair feeling sorry for herself before she has the idea to become Oracle and then team up with the Black Canary. And then later on there's sort of a visual echo of that same panel after Barbara has had her experimental surgery and become Batgirl again. So it's just a strong sense of parallelism, and you can tell that the Benson sisters know what they're doing here when they're putting these scripts together. The artwork by Claire Rowe is pretty sharp, too. You scarcely know that she works all digitally, but as Pants has given us to know, there's no original art to own from this issue, mainly because Claire Rowe works digitally. So yeah, it's an exciting debut for this new version of this team as they set out to solve the mystery of the new Oracle and run into a few other skeletons in their various closets along the way. I would say that the pacing of this Rebirth special maybe gets a little odd and bunched up towards the end of it, but I would not lay that at the feet of the Benson sisters. I think that's more of a result or an outcome of the peculiar structure of this Rebirth relaunch, because each of these new Rebirth titles is being given not only a first issue, but also one of these Rebirth specials. So in effect, all the writers of these new ongoing series are being asked to write 2 #1 issues for their new series, but not make it look like they're producing 2 #1 issues. So they're supposed to introduce these characters, and they have to figure out how to distribute the introduction between 2 #1s, basically, without repeating themselves, and it's kind of a difficult balancing act they're being asked to perform. So all things taken into consideration, I think the Bensons and Claire Rowe and company did a fine job of introducing us to this new team of DC Universe Lady Vigilantes. And I want to see where it goes from here. I can't wait to find out the mystery of the new Oracle solved. I want to see this team of snake villains that have been teased in some preview issues, because birds and snakes are natural enemies after all, so it's about time that the Birds of Prey had an opposite number that they could fight. So this series has me excited. I think it deserves the critical praise it's gotten and the high sales numbers, and I'm definitely on board for the long haul. Hi, Julie. Hi, Shauna.
And I like how you mentioned getting the band back together, because actually it was a theme of the issue here.
All right, I enjoy this as well. I have not read as much Birds of Prey as I think the rest of the group, and I've read some over the years, but I didn't follow this series regularly. I know it was always highly acclaimed. I've always enjoyed the concept. I dug this from the very beginning. First of all, I love the artwork, and when you mentioned when Batgirl is duking it out with those thugs, the expressions on her face, like when she's punching the guy in the diaphragm, and the look of total focused intensity on her face as she's making that punch, is so well done. And then just the exuberance on her face as she's just diving into the fray and just taking out all the thugs, I thought was really well done. Just the different facial expressions just shows a great attention to detail when it comes to a superhero in a fight, so to speak. I like Barbara Gordon's voice in the story. They touch upon both her skills as Batgirl, they revisit her abilities as Oracle, and they sort of combine the two throughout the story. They reflect upon the Killing Joke, naturally because it's part of the history. I don't think they overdid that. They just kind of addressed a few panels and moved on. Like the rest of you, I also saw the animated feature and had very mixed feelings about that, which we'll talk about another time. One quick question, just purely for history's sake. In the old DC universe, was the Huntress part of the Birds of Prey?
Yes.
Yes, she was.
She was. Okay, so in this version, we're to assume she never was part of the Birds of Prey then. Is that how we're supposed to read it? 'Cause that's how I read it.
Prior to now, yes. Yeah, Helena Bertinelli has been a part of the Spiral.
Okay. Which, again, the Grayson series I thought was one of the strongest offerings from the New 52. I like how they really established the chemistry between Black Canary and Batgirl. Again, that was very well done. It's very hard to write a strong opening issue, and I thought they did a very good job here doing that because they got all the key players in place. You get a sense of where they all are at this point in their history and the story and how they're all going to come together. They nicely addressed the threads from Grayson with Bertinelli. Again, very strong opening issue, and that's not easy to do, and we read a lot of opening issues that have been very subpar or worse. And this one I thought was a nice blending of these various characters' history and also how they work together so well. So a very strong buy for me.
Okay, so I really definitely liked it. I liked what everyone was touching upon. I liked that it kind of fills in the gap of where 52 started. Like, the New 52, I think part of the reason why it was hard to follow is because you were kind of thrown into this universe and you didn't know what had stuck and what was different. And this is filling in the gaps, and I think this is a really smart thing that they're doing because it touches upon, it feels like coming home in a weird way, but not home. I'm coming to a new home. And as much as I miss the old universe, especially the old Birds of Prey, I do enjoy what they're doing. I enjoy that they're filling in the gaps and making me realize what I missed. Even though the Batgirl title was hands down one of the best ones they did, I really enjoyed seeing what was canon, what wasn't canon anymore from the old universe. And I have to apologize. I read this when it came out on July 20th, I guess, so it's been a while since I read this. But I definitely really dug it. I think they did a really good job. And I can't wait to read issue 1.
One point I want to make, I think Danielle made a very good point I want to piggyback on, which is that when you read a story like this, yes, they're establishing what's new and what old canon is being crossed over. But again, I thought they did a good blend of that because you kind of feel like, all right, these are the characters I've always known, and especially the chemistry between Lance and Gordon I thought was really well done and captured their history. And so that kind of like when I read the original Rebirth of Wally West, there's a sense of, okay, it's going in a new direction, but at the same time, there's a reassuring sense of things for readers who've been around quite some time when it comes to these characters and their interplay and their personalities. So I really appreciate that about the issue as well. Good point by Danielle.
All right.
Faith.
Yes, we're going to jump now to Faith, number 1 from Valiant. I will read the solicitor. It's written by Jody Hauser with art by Pere Perez and Marguerite Salvage. Hope I have that last name pronounced correctly. It's an all-new ongoing series because you demanded it. The high-flying hero that captured the imagination of the world is back with a colossal new comics milestone. In a city under siege by robots, aliens, monsters, and even worse, celebrities, there is only one woman the people of L.A. can count on, the stratospheric superhero called Faith. Aspiring reporter by day and dedicated crime fighter by night, Faith has tackled every obstacle in her path with confidence. Like those crushing deadlines at work, the long-distance boyfriend half a world away, and the missing back issues that plague her comics collection. But unbeknownst to her, Faith is about to collide with the one force she never saw coming. An up-and-coming supervillain bent on snuffing her out once and for all. But who is lurking behind the mask of her new foe, and could they just be the one person capable of rendering Faith powerless? Jump on board now to find out why Valiant's one-of-a-kind hero is inspiring a whole new generation. Be here as Faith moves from her sold-out miniseries and into the history-making debut of her first-ever ongoing series.
For me, it's a buy.
Adam?
Strong borrow.
Buy row from me.
Yeah, I sort of did the whole hedging. I sort of get a buy/borrow the old buy RO.
Danielle, why don't you go first?
I really dug it. I read the Faith. I just recently finished reading the Faith miniseries trade. Frankly, I'm partially to wanting to love it because it's a female superhero. It's a plus-size female superhero, and that's a huge deal because that's not done ever. And the fact that it's not an issue at all, it's never brought up. It's just, that's the normal, and that's a beautiful thing because that does not happen in our society at all. But I don't know, was it confusing to read the first issue? Because I had just finished reading the miniseries, so like things that they touched upon, I was like, oh yeah, that happened in the miniseries, but I wasn't sure if it was a good first issue for other people, like a good introduction.
I didn't find it confusing because in the first few pages I thought they did a pretty good job of recapping, I'm assuming, what happened in the miniseries.
Yeah.
So, no,
okay.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I thought the story was fun. I love the art. I love the little filler pages that the one artist does where she has like little dream sequences and stuff. That art is just downright gorgeous. But I don't have much to say, but I do really love it. I'm just excited. I'm excited for female superheroes. I'm excited for female superheroes that aren't, all about sexual attraction and look normal and deal with normal human problems. Like, I'm a big fan of that.
May I go next, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on what Danielle was saying, to explain my buy row, the buy part of the buy row is what Danielle is celebrating. The fact that you have a hero who is, as she said, plus size, and they're not even acknowledging that. What I like about that is, when you see most superheroes, they don't resemble real people. Like, less than like 1% of people on Earth look like superheroes. Probably less than that, like these Herculean, physical perfect specimens. And the fact that you have a character who, let's face it, a lot of people in the United States are plus size. So the fact that you have a character who resembles so many regular people in our society today, I think is a great thing. And the fact they don't even acknowledge it, that's just who she is. And it's who she is, and she's proceeding with her superhero career and her secret identity. I think that should definitely be praised. I think it's one of the strong suits of the book, and that's the buy part of my buy row. Now, the row part of it is, and it's not nearly a bad thing, it's just that I've read this story a million times before. Like, when you take out that certain element we just discussed, and, like, the problems she's facing and what's going on, that's a kind of story we've read many times. It doesn't mean that's a bad thing, it just means that with the very tight budget so many people have, this is not necessarily a book I'm going to run out and buy the next few issues, because in many ways the plot devices here are very derivative for me as a reader. But it's still perfectly enjoyable, because hell, if it's a good plot device and it keeps working, then use it. It just doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to go out and buy it. But overall, a very solid entry. Again, I love that angle they're taking with the character as a more reflection of our culture and our society and a lot of regular people. So very much a buy row for me.
Well, I'll begin by saying that I did pretty much exactly what Brian did. I saw the solicitation for the trade of the miniseries, which was Valiant was offering for $9.99, so I plunked it into my cart, and I also read it before I read this first issue. And I think this is just a fine continuation of what was begun in that 4-issue miniseries. And I do applaud whoever it is at Valiant, whatever editor, he seems to be a big supporter of introductory recap sequences in the first 3 or so pages of the first issues, because we saw kind of the same thing done in 4001 AD #1. We got that sort of Japanese wall-hanging style recap sequence painted by David Mack. And in this issue, Faith #1, we get the same kind of thing penciled by artist Colleen Doran, who's been a fan favorite for a couple of decades now. And I think this is better. This is more fun to read than just like a single page of prose catching people up. So whose ever idea at Valiant this happened to have been, that person's to be commended. So this introduces us to the character of Faith Herbert, a.k.a. Zephyr, who, believe it or not, has actually been around in Valiant Comics for a very long time. Yeah. I had no idea until I did a little bit of research. And here she is, really coming into her own as a solo character after a little time as part of another Harbinger-related group in the new current Valiant universe. And then she made the jump out to Los Angeles, where she's living the fangirl dream. She's doing kind of an updated version of the old Clark Kent crusading journalist job by writing for the Zipline pop culture website blog thing. She's a content writer. So that's her secret identity. She even has like a wig and glasses to do the full Clark Kent thing, while secretly she operates as Zephyr, whose true identity of Faith Herbert is actually public knowledge in the Valiant universe. So, as Chris said, there are a lot of the classic superhero tropes present in this series. So it is very traditional superhero storytelling, self-consciously so. The tropes are present because Faith is a fan of superheroes and other such geeky stuff, and she knows the tropes, and she wants self-consciously to put them into practice in her own life. So there is kind of a little bit of a meta thing happening there, and that this is a fan who is getting to live the dream of not only writing content about her favorite pop culture, she's also getting to be a part of it by being a living, breathing superhero. So the whole concept is it's kind of cool. I can agree with Danielle that it's great that there is a positive representation of a plus-size female superhero out there in the world, because she's right that that's extremely rare. The writer resisted the temptation to turn it into any kind of a fat joke. There's none of that. As Danny said, there's absolutely zero mention of the fact that she's plus-size. I mean, not even the bad guys make fun of her weight. So this is apparently an alternate reality in which body image is a little bit more healthy in American culture. Attitudes toward body image is a little more healthy. So there's that. The fantasy sequences that Danny mentioned, that's where the artwork by Marguerite Sauvage comes in. Those were also present in the 4-issue miniseries. There's at least a few pages in every issue of Faith just having a little daydream And that's when the visual style changes, and it's the tone and also the art there is a little bit reminiscent to me, anyway, of what's happening in the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. The Sauvage artwork reminds me a little of Erica Henderson's. So if you're a fan of that series, you'll want to read those sequences with interest. If not, you can probably just skip past them. So yeah, and then this first issue, we were sort of walked through what's going on in Faith's life. She wonders about whether or not she should change her costume. She daydreams about superhero movie star Chris Criswell, and that proves to be her undoing by the surprising end of the first issue. So yeah, Chris Criswell was actually seen in the daydream sequences of the miniseries. This is the first time we're seeing him in person, or are we? Yeah. So yeah, she's a great little supporting cast at Zipline. You know, her co-workers are among the few people who know her secret identity. Her cruel, manipulative boss, who is a great character. She's like Perry White meets Mallory Archer. So yeah, it's good traditional superhero storytelling. I will also say for it that it is truly, unstintingly, inexorably positive in tone. And there does need to be some of that in comics. But the reason this isn't a full-on buy for me is that certain features of Jody Houser's writing annoy me just a little bit. I mean, just the fact that Faith is just constantly making cutesy little references to popular culture, midichlorians, Smeghead, and just little things like that. I'm like, okay, we get it. Faith is a fan of things. Also, and this is really perhaps unfair for this review because it's reaching back into the miniseries and doesn't have as much to do with what we find in the first issue of the ongoing, but sometimes it gets a little bit too schmaltzy and rah-rah about fandom and how wonderful these stories are and how valuable and meaningful, and fandom is empowering and rah-rah fandom, and it gets a little bit cloying at points. Yeah, and so it's the level of adorkability is maybe a little bit too much for my taste, and it's not tempered. I mean, it's there's a little of that in Squirrel Girl too, but it's tempered by this great oddball sense of humor that Ryan North and Erica Henderson bring to that series, and there's not as much of that in Faith. So yeah, it's a good series, a good sort of a superhero series with a couple of interesting twists on some classic superhero tropes, some interesting self-conscious twists. But for those reasons of tone and style I just mentioned, it's not the sort of thing that I need to have in my regular reading diet. Now, I enjoyed the 4-issue miniseries. I enjoyed this first issue, but I don't think I'm going to be a regular reader. So I call it a borrow, but a strong borrow.
Okay, yeah, I gave it the old buy Aro. There's not much more I can add. You guys have already done, but I've already mentioned. But I do like how all the different art styles all seemed to work in the book. They weren't jarring at all. It was very nice to see. There was a nice. I like the humor in the issue throughout. Like she's flying out on patrol and she goes, "Wait a minute, that guy was doing crime, wasn't he?" Goes back and catches him. And the ending, I don't think too far. When Murd goes, is that Chris Criswell? It's like, well, that never caught my eye, because that's a really cool cliffhanger ending we have in the issue here. But yeah, similar to what everyone said, it's great. The art is great. The story was fine. I'm just not sure I would add it to my pull list, but it was still a very good first issue, and I actually did go back, like I mentioned, I bought the trade and read that. I was curious about the character, and like I mentioned, he's been around for quite some time. I think I did order the next issue, and actually also at the same time, there was an Archer and Armstrong issue number 5 that came out.
Oh, yeah, with art by Mike Norton.
Exactly, and written by... oh, God, I'm drawing a blank now.
Rafer Roberts.
Thank you, Rafer Roberts. So I picked and read that and enjoyed that. So I'm sticking through it for at least a couple of issues. We'll see how, maybe the first arc, see if I continue on with that or not. But so that's why I gave it the old buy Aro. All right, we're ready next for Betty and Veronica from Archie.
Let's do it.
All right. Betty and Veronica number 1. And now, again, this is from the solicit. He goes... The most highly anticipated debut in comics history is here. Betty and Veronica are America's sweethearts until they turn on each other. Pops' chocolate shop is being taken over by a huge coffee company. When Betty and Veronica go head-to-head over the issue, all bets are off. Friendships will shatter, cities will burn, nails will be broken. Betty and Veronica are back in this all-new number 1 from comics legend Adam Hughes. All right, who wants to start out?
Let's go with reviews. Adam, why don't you start?
This one, to me, is a below-average borrow.
Danielle?
I'd give it a borrow, maybe a buy-arrow.
I understand this one was tough for me too to rate. I'm going to go with a strong borrow on this one.
I actually gave it a buy.
All right, Adam, why don't you start?
I would be delighted, sir. All right, yeah. This one was tough. I agree with you there, Chris. There were things working for it and things working against it. In the final equation, I think that the things working against it a little bit outweighed the strengths. Okay, so this is written and illustrated by Adam Hughes, colors by Jose Villarrubia, lettering by one of my favorite letterers, Jack Morelli. And it's a part of this continuing series of new Riverdale relaunches that Archie Comics has been doing. And so, yeah, I should really begin with the positives, come down to it. Okay, so the positive, the thing that works most strongly in favor of the issue is the artwork. Okay, the artwork looks very nice indeed. I mean, it is by Adam Hughes, who is very much a respected and in-demand artist in the field. And he is the one that Archie approached to provide the art for this series. As I understand it, it was actually Hughes' own idea that he also write it. He was kind of a counteroffer he made that Archie accepted. So, yes, the art is quite nice to look at. He's clearly channeling Norman Rockwell here in his portrayal of the archetypal American small town of Riverdale. I love the autumnal setting, the constant presence of the swirling autumn leaves in the background of most of the panels. Very atmospheric. His depiction of facial expressions are very humorous, and that's important for any Archie series. There needs to be, kind of broad humor like that, and he does that well while still keeping all of the characters attractive in his inimitable style. But as far as he does a solid job of telling a story with his art, but he is a little bit out of practice, you can tell, with sequentials, because he's an acknowledged master of the pin-up sub-branch of the comics art form, but he doesn't use his art to tell stories that much anymore. He's really more of a portraitist, or even you might call him an epigrammatist these days, in that he creates these concise little visual one-liners with his artwork. The things that he draws or paints, their covers, their pin-ups, they get the message across in one image, and he doesn't have to work in sequentials that much anymore. That's not to say that there's anything wrong with his sequentials here. It's just that looking at what he's doing with them here, I'm realizing that there are probably at least a dozen odd different people working in comics these days that could have done at least as well. But the art is definitely a plus. But then we get down to the writing side of things. And, it's not like Adam Hughes has never scripted a comic book before. He has, just not very much. And it's showing through in the way that he goes about writing this issue. I mean, for one thing, the plot is extremely thin and also kind of hackneyed, as he kind of cops to in the script. Pop's chocolate shop is in danger of being shut down again. It does seem to happen a lot. So there's that. There's just really not very much actually happening in this issue. It's a lot of people standing around talking and doing a lot of talking because, this is another kind of inexperienced writer thing. Especially, it seems to happen a lot among artists who are tapped to write comics when they're not used to it. I will refer you to George Perez's New 52 Superman series. The artists tend to overscript pretty badly. They feel like they need to write as many lines of dialogue as they would ordinarily put drawn lines into a panel. And as a result, they end up covering up their fine-looking artwork with a lot of superfluous word balloons. George Perez did it, and Adam Hughes is doing it again in this issue. Now, to Adam Hughes' credit, a lot of the stuff he puts in these excessive word balloons covering up his art is actually kind of entertaining. He's a funny guy, is Adam Hughes, but it seems like a lot of what he's writing, as far as dialogue, is intended more to show off how witty he is than to serve the needs of the story. Another issue I have with the way he wrote it. I mean, some of the stuff he wrote was witty and entertaining. The little dialogue between Archie and Jughead as they walk to join Betty and Veronica as they rake up leaves, of who would win in a fight between Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, who'd win in a fight between Ronald McDonald and the Burger King. These are the kinds of conversations I could see teenage boys having. It just kind of goes on a little bit too long, and it sets a precedent right there near the start of the story that... it's Archie and Jughead, and we don't get to the title characters of the story until several pages in, and even from that point on, Betty and Veronica, they're center stage in the story, but they're surrounded by all of their friends, Archie and Jughead, Moose and Midge, Pop. It feels like they're just, I don't want to say supporting characters, but they're no more important than any other characters in this first issue of what's supposed to be their own series. And I think that's kind of an injustice, especially when I did catch one interview with Adam Hughes when he said he looked forward to Betty and Veronica being the center of attention instead of just supporting players to the boys, Archie and Jughead. And yet, as far as I can see, that's pretty much what's happening all the same. Their character... Despite the wittiness of the dialogue, the characters, I think Jughead he probably does the best with. Some of the others are still kind of imperfectly drawn the way he writes them. Betty and Veronica, no less so than anybody else. A lot of the lines coming out of Veronica's mouth sound like they should belong to Lovey Howell from Gilligan's Island as opposed to like... So the stuff he's writing here is funny, but it doesn't necessarily serve plot or character, I guess is what I'm saying, and he writes too darn much of it. So the issue is overplotted and underscripted. And then, of course, there's that pesky missing 2 pages. And I'm sure you guys will have a thing or two to say about that, too, but it's like Adam Hughes, he has Hot Dog, who serves as the, the Frolics narrator of the issue. Jughead's pet dog, Hot Dog, he comes on and explains that there are 2 missing story pages here because Hot Dog ate them. And so instead we're treated to yet more word balloons and a little pin-up, again, that being Adam Hughes' specialty, of Betty and Veronica lying there reading the issue and catching people up on what should have appeared on those 2 missing story pages. Now, if there was a legitimate real-world accident that prevented Adam Hughes from showing us those 2 pages, if they were lost by courier or destroyed by some act of fate, or if he had some kind of serious illness that prevented him from actually drawing them, then it's easy enough to forgive, but if he was just running late and couldn't make the deadline for, non-illness-related reasons, or if he just got bored with actually drawing story pages instead of pin-ups, and that's why we're missing 2 pages, that's kind of a problem. And throughout, this is one more fault I'm going to lay at Adam Hughes' feet, that it bugs me about, again, inexperienced writers. He seems to think he can get away with all kinds of flaws in his writing simply by poking fun at them self-consciously, wink, wink, in his own script. The plot with Pops is being closed down has been used before, throw a joke into the script about it. Too many word balloons, throw a joke into the script about it. Missing story pages, throw a joke into the script about it. My argument against that is, okay, fine and good, it's all very cutesy, but if you're self-aware enough to know that these are problems with the story you're turning in, you should also be self-aware enough to do something to fix those problems instead of just, winking at the audience and thinking you can get away with it. So, yeah, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So, yeah, so this first issue, it leaves me thinking that it's pretty looking, but it could have been a lot better if maybe Archie had not accepted Adam Hughes' offer to also write the series and gotten somebody else to provide us with plot and script. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that they might have gone ahead and find somebody female to write it, since we are talking about 2 of the most iconic female characters in all of comics, if not in all of American culture, and they did get Marguerite Bennett to write the upcoming Josie and the Pussycats series, so it would have been nice if they could have gotten a female writer to do justice to these characters and, write with a voice that's a little closer to their own experience than Adam Hughes can muster here. So just my 2 cents. So, yeah, it was pretty enough, but the writing is wanting, so I ended up giving it kind of a weak borrow. And we also are treated to a 3-page classic Betty and Veronica story from years past, which is something Archie's been doing in the back matter of a lot of these new Riverdale series of theirs, which is a great thing to have, but it does kind of give the lie to the words all new printed on the front cover. Little nitpick there. So, below average borrow from yours truly.
Number 1, go ahead.
Man, I'm totally changing my thing to a borrow because Adam convinced me. Because I do agree. Oh my God, so many words.
And you just read it, so it's fresh for you.
Yeah, there was a lot of words. I might have skimmed some of it, so I apologize for that. I did enjoy it. Weirdly, reading it and seeing how many words it was, I kept reading it in the tone of a Gilmore Girls episode. So Betty and Veronica were Lorelai and Rory. And that's how I got through it. So maybe that was clouding my judgment. Because I was like, oh, then it made me think, man, I want Amy Sherman Palladino to do a Betty and Veronica TV show. That'd be awesome. And then I went on a tangent in my head and kept going. It was good. I mean, yeah, seriously. So many words. The art, I keep going back and forth on the art. I think it's really pretty, but at the same time, I can't tell. Like, did Adam Hughes just pencil it? Like, it's just pure pencils, and then the colorist went in and did all, like, the outlines, like, essentially did the inking.
No, I actually saw the original art out at San Diego. It was for sale, so it's full pencil and inks.
And he inks it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm so confused by the lack of noses on everyone. They have noses, but they're not inked. They're colored in, and I'll admit I'm actually not the biggest Adam Hughes fan. I think he's talented, but I personally am not. He doesn't do it for me. Like, I see his pinups, I'm like, they're pretty and he's talented, but it's just not my cup of tea. So I kept, like, going back and forth. I do think little nitpicks here and there from, like, the woman's side. They are teenagers. The girls don't look like teenagers. The boys look like teenagers. The girls don't. They have kind of really skinny waists, and the bust size is a little bit bigger than you would expect. It's not accentuated, but it's there, and I think because, you know, he comes from that pinup background for so long, it does affect that. But I will say I do love the fact that he puts them in very stylish clothing, which I think is very important when you're doing books about teenagers. A lot of times you'll see artists, they don't look at current trends, and they always look outdated in their art. So I was a big fan of that. But yeah, seriously, did we need a pinup page? Did we really need the girls in bikinis? That to me is like, you're trying to get... This is a book probably geared towards girls. I mean, It is. Don't do that. Come on. Let's just not do that. And it's not like they're sexualized, but, I mean, you're kind of seeing Veronica's boobs there. Like, let's not do that. I want to be able to give this to, you know, my friend's little girl who's 6. Like, you know, maybe when she's 8 or 9. I don't want that in these stories. It's fine that they're teenagers, but, like, there's enough over-sexualization of everyone. Like, let's just calm it down a little bit. We don't need to go there. I mean, that was just, to me, it's like, really? Did you have to do that? Was it a joke? Like, I get it, but come on. It doesn't need to be there.
Totally agree.
Yeah. But other than that, you know, I enjoyed it. I would probably pick up other issues, or, okay, really, I'm not going to, but I might read them digitally or something. But yeah, I did enjoy it. It was good. Sorry, I'm like scrolling through it right now. The dog introduction thing, I could have done without the dog. I really could have done without the dog. But, and I will echo Adam, I really think they should have... It's not that guys can't write female characters. Mm-hmm. They can. But you're making a big deal about it. They probably should have gotten a female artist. I mean, a female writer. I think it would have been better.
I do agree.
I would piggyback on that. Get a competent writer, whether they're male or female. I mean, the reason why I give this a borrow, and Murd, and you both hit the nail on the head. You know, as Shakespeare wrote, brevity is the soul of wit, and this is like a regurgitation on every page when it comes to just vomiting word balloons and dialogue. And this is me, the guy who loves like 80s comics that are full of like captions and word balloons and thought balloons. But at its best, that approach serves the story. This does not really serve the story. I mean, I enjoy Adam Hughes' art. I enjoyed looking at this book. I thought overall it was pretty. I agree the pinup page was either A, lazy, or B, there was some other scheduling reason for it, or C, he was just hearkening back to his roots there. But I thought it really didn't work in the overall book. The dog and the cutesy witticisms got old real fast, and like Murd, I felt they were just kind of addressing the fact that you don't have a particularly strong scripter working on this book. Imagine what Mark Waid could have done with this story, for example. And that's just throwing out one name. Again, I really enjoyed the artwork overall. I thought Jughead was the best captured character, so to speak, as Murd said, in terms of the Archie verse. But let me reiterate, I don't mind seeing a lot of dialogue or captions, but it has to serve the story. I don't think that they did that here very effectively. I just saw a lot of shortcomings when you're letting an artist who is not a particularly great writer script the story. My feeling is they should have Adam Hughes draw it, but get somebody else who is a far more skilled scripter to write the actual dialogue. So I struggle with this rating because I've been enjoying all the Archie stuff that they've been doing. I love the zombie book when it comes out. I've been enjoying the Mark Waid flagship, although I'm a little behind on it. So I was looking forward to this. But within the first few pages, I just said, uh-oh. We got the old artist shouldn't be writing trope going here, and this is another classic example. And again, there's a lot of creators who are like the late great Darwin Cook, who are masters of art and scripting, but that's a very elite level of creator, and Adam Hughes does not fall into that category, and this book clearly demonstrates that. I hope, let's see how long he actually sticks around to pencil this book, number one, but number two, they should get somebody else in there to script it, because this economy is important sometimes with dialogue and pacing and so forth, and this is like they just threw out all the moorings. They just kind of letting the ship go, willy-nilly, and it detracted from the overall reading experience for me. So a borrow.
Well, I mean, you all have some valid points, but I very much enjoyed the book, so I gave it a buy. I'm very much now into the Archie universe, and seeing this book here with all was wordy. Yeah, I got my money's worth with reading this book. It took me a while to read this, and I enjoyed it. It was funny. It made me laugh out loud at a couple of places. The artwork was wonderful. I love seeing Adam Hughes doing sequential artwork because, like I said, I've seen all his covers and his pinups. But I just very much enjoyed the book. If I had to say one thing that sort of took me out of it was the coloring seemed a little dull to me, but I guess it is fall. They're going for the fall season. You have all the muted colors,
right?
But other than that, I really enjoy this issue because I don't see too much of the necessarily Betty and Veronica interacting in the Archie book. To see them in this book going head to head, I really dug this. Like I said, several laugh out loud moments from me. I don't know Adam Hughes that well. I've only met him a few times, but I know he's got a great sense of humor. And I thought it showed in this book very much. So, yeah, I gave it a buy, and I'm getting this to my pull list. I'm getting the rest of the issues when they come out.
Well, perhaps we'll literally borrow them from you, Brian.
Well, I have to wear gloves, though, of course.
All right.
Wear boxing gloves.
You can't turn the pages. It's really hard. You can't really do anything with them on. Trust me.
I trust you implicitly, Danny.
I have to have a water bottle that has a straw sticking out of it because I can't lift a water bottle. So I, kneel on the ground and then, bend over to sip my water bottle during kickboxing. Because I have full gloves on. But that was a weird tangent.
I'm sorry, Danielle. I apologize.
No, it's okay. That was just a weird tangent that I went on.
But a fun one. Why don't we announce our OTRs for the... we didn't announce our OTRs from the August previews.
Sure, go right ahead.
Let's do those. So, for Marvel, we're going to do Jessica Jones, number 1.
I think it's, was it Now? Jessica Jones with the Now in front of it there?
Oh, was there a Now there? Okay.
I think so.
DC, we're doing Batman Beyond, number 1. And our indie pick is from Image is Moonshine, number 1. Correct, Murd? Moonshine?
That's correct.
Yep, Moonshine by Brian Azzarello. So those will be that's the books we're picking from the August previews, which will come out roughly in October.
Who's writing the Jessica Jones series?
It's Bendis. It's the original team. It's Bendis and Gatos.
Oh wow, I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited about it too. Yep. So that's exciting news to say the least. And you want to talk about any other books they're reading right now they want to recommend?
Well, I think I overheard you guys mention on the most recent previews episode that you read The Black Hammer #1.
Oh, Murd, it's awesome.
Yeah, I do agree. As I bought it too, of course. I looked at the first issue. I think it shows a lot of promise. Yep. There's Brian showing off his copy on camera. Yeah, I got the Justice League styled variant cover with the badge shaped logo. So it's written by Jeff Lemire but not drawn by him. I've forgotten the name of the artist.
That would be Dean Ormston, Ormston, Dean Ormston.
Thank you, Brian. Whose style is, not too far removed from Jeff Lemire's, actually. I actually thought it was his until I checked the credit box and saw, oh, no, it isn't. But yeah, it tells the story of a bunch of archetypal comic characters who fought the good fight in a crisis-like battle against a major cosmic antagonist called the Anti-God, and suddenly found themselves kicked out of their reality and basically doing hard time in Smallville. They're trapped in this pastoral setting on this broken-down little rural farm next to a sleepy little town where they're kind of forced to spend their time. They're living there for 10 years at the time the first issue picks up, and it's almost like a reality show from hell. It's like a Golden Age two-fisted brawler, a couple of Silver Age spacemen. There's a teen girl superhero who's been tragically de-aged to the point of 9 years old by passing through whatever warp landed the characters on the farm. It's a good volatile mix of personalities. And there's also a mysterious sorceress lady who lives out on the edges of the farm. So, and it takes the idea of superhero revisionist existentialism, as hinted at by things like the Hole-in-the-Wall gang, Superman of Earth 2 and his friends from the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and even The Supremacy from Alan Moore's Supreme run, which is like a kind of afterlife for retconned versions of the character Supreme and his supporting cast. It's taking that idea of what happens to superheroes when they are wiped out of the continuity and are no longer relevant, and it takes it into a weirdly, hauntingly Sartrean direction. It's like these hell is other people was Sartre's big theme in his classic play No Exit, and this is kind of that with superheroes who have been kicked out of their own reality. Plus, as another interesting wrinkle, their reality still remembers them. And the daughter of the title character, who is apparently seemingly died at the same time as all the other characters found themselves exiled to this farm, the Black Hammer, hero of the streets, seemingly sacrificed his life to allow his comrades to even survive long enough to be shunted to this farm. So he kind of haunts all the proceedings of this first issue. And at the end, we learn that his daughter has grown up to become a Lois Lane-style crusading reporter, and she is going to dedicate her life to finding out what really happened to her father and these other missing Golden and Silver Age heroes. So that's going to be presumably kind of a parallel plot to the tribulations of these characters as they live their lives in exile in this sleepy little farm, driving each other crazy. So yeah, it's very atmospheric. I'm sure Lemire has got some kind of larger point in mind, and it could be any one of a half dozen things that I can think of, any one of which I would be thrilled to read per Lemire's style. So yeah, I'm excited about following this series in the future. Just as my excitement has not dulled one whit since I first saw the solicitation in previews, and I'm sticking with it for as long as Lemire's and Ormston is doing it.
Murd, I'm glad to hear that, because when I read it, I thought immediately, this is made for Murd, this book. And I echo all your sentiments. I'm going to mention a couple quick things, and I have to depart, my friends. I want to shout out again how good the ongoing Power Man and Iron Fist series continues to be by Walker and Green. It's so much fun. It so understands the history of the characters, and it taps into the history while still taking them forward to the Marvel Universe. Definitely one of the best titles Marvel's producing today, and I highly recommend that. I also am really enjoying, we've mentioned the Star Wars titles many times, the new Poe Dameron series is really well done. They capture the voices of the characters very well. Great art by Phil Noto. If you're a Star Wars fan, I highly recommend that series. And also, I just want to point out how good Black Widow is by Mark Waid. It's an outstanding espionage book. The trade of the first 6 issues has been solicited. I recommend that. And, of course, it wouldn't be me if I didn't mention Tom King's The Vision for the umpteenth time, which, having just read the latest issue, I think is easily one of the best books out on the stands today of any company, essentially. And I must depart. I have a family obligation. I apologize, my friends.
All right, Chris.
But I will talk to you all very soon. And Pansy, thanks for taking the helm on this one.
Oh, you're very welcome.
All right, my friends. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Well, I want to talk a little bit about a book I mentioned in the previous episode, Animosity #1. This is from Aftershock Comics. And Murd, you actually sort of, in a roundabout way, tipped me off to this book. And which is why I went on the mini, not rant, but talking about how very important it is to pre-order your books and get as much information as you can, whether it's ordering them online or through a pull list at your local retailer. Because Adam mentioned from Aftershock a couple of months ago in our previews a Captain Kidd comic written by Mark Waid. Mm-hmm. And I never heard of the book, nor have I ever heard of Aftershock Comics. So I said, it's a good suggestion. So I ordered the book, read it, loved it. In the back of the book was a 6-page preview of Animosity. And just reading that, it sold me on this book. The main thing behind the book is that all the animals have gained sentience, and they started talking and are taking their revenge. Boom, I'm in. But I went to Golden Eagle after it came out. It was sold out. I went to One Up Collectibles in West Reading. It was sold out. Looked online. It was sold out everywhere. So I got my copy off of eBay.
For $12.
Yes, for $12. And now they actually have solicited a second printing coming out August 31st. That has sold out, and now they're getting a third printing of this. So, again, had I known about this in the first place, I would have pre-ordered the book because it's a simple concept, similar like Why the Last Man had. All of a sudden, all the men die. Boom, go for it. And here, all of a sudden, all the animals start talking and thinking. Boom, go for it. And it was amazing to read. It didn't really do too much outside. It takes place in New York City, but you see all around the world where the animals are in various forms, either attacking or just talking, and it's really weird. One of the things I caught is a lot of the birds are attacking and they're going die, 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 die. And I thought, well, that was kind of odd. But then, of course, you get the phrase bird brain. Well, there you go. They're acting like birds. So a really engaging first issue. The main characters in the first issue are a young girl Jessie and her dog. The dog's name is, where is his dog's name? Sandor. And I said, oh my God, I'm so glad I got this book. Because I went to buy it digitally. I had to have a copy in my hand. I couldn't wait till August 31st. I didn't even know there was a second printing at that time. But I've ordered issues 2 and 3, and it's on my pull list to go on. I'm sorry, I should mention, it's written by Marguerite Bennett with art by Raphael De La Torre. Just a great book. And this has the possibility to go sort of like Why the Last Man. You have a real simple concept, and the world is open to you. So I am so looking forward to how this thing turns out. Aftershock Comics. So if you haven't ordered a copy, try to get a copy of the third printing that's ordered. But if you like it, again, order it through whether it's your online retailer or you pull us at your local comic shop. Because I missed it, and I paid for it, but actually it turned out to be worth it. And really, I'm so glad I got this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's quite an endorsement there. In kind of a roundabout way, since I turned you on to Captain Kidd in the first place, listening to you talk about all this on the previews episode turned me on to grab my copy of Captain Kidd #1 from my pile over here and read that preview that you saw. And it does look like entertaining comics. Just what I like is that Ms. Bennett, she resists the temptation to have all the animals sort of unanimously turn against humanity and attack.
Right,
It's much more realistic and much more interesting and fun to have various different animals respond to their new gift of speech and thought in different ways.
Absolutely. Anything else they've read recently?
No, I haven't really read anything. Bill's been reorganizing the trades, and every time I want to read something, I'm like, where is this book? And then I have to like, because we have so many trades. I mean, like, we had a ton, and we got rid of, I want to say, between 15 and 20 diamond boxes worth of trades. Yeah, like,
wow.
I mean, a lot of trades. And we kind of just want to keep the bare basics of, like, these are the best series, and if we read something, we just, sell it back to the store because we don't need to own it because we have a very small house. And at this point, we only want to display, like, the best of the best. So, like, our Starman or Why the Last Man, the Fables, like, complete series. And then things that are ongoing that we're reading right now, we're trying to, like, find a section in the house to keep it there. But he took apart, like, so much stuff. And now I keep going, like, hey, where's that Vision trade? Oh, it's in the box. Oh, where's that?
The box.
Yeah. There's behind me, there are 3 diamond boxes full of trades right now that are, I think, going in the basement because we're keeping those. We just don't have place to display them right now. I did read, I think, the first 2 issues of the Patsy Walker trade, and that was fun so far. I just haven't had a chance to read the rest of it, but I enjoyed that so far. But that's about it.
Okay. Well, do we have time for one of the Muddle the Murds here, Adam?
I'm game if you are.
All right. We haven't done these in a while because I have had you on a little bit. So once again, it's our trivia, Muddle the Murd. Let's jump right into it. This Muddle the Murd comes to us from Alex Martin. Here we go. Question 1, DC pre-1970s. In Green Lantern, we know that the first hero to bear the name was Alan Scott. But what was the original proposed name by the creator Martin Nodell?
A little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff happening here.
Yeah, so we'll see how the judges think about this.
Yeah, because it is a part of comics history. It's just not something taken directly from the text of a comic. That's
correct.
Yeah, whether or not that's out of bounds remains to be seen. But I'm pretty sure I don't know the answer, so yeah, it's going to be relevant. The Green Flame. I don't know.
No, and I thought you would know this. Alan Ladd.
Oh, his real secret identity. Oh, I knew that.
I thought you knew that.
I did know that. Alan Ladd. Eventually it was retconned that he was Alan Ladd Scott. I think Roy Thomas eventually established that was his middle name. But yeah, I thought they meant what other name was Alan Scott originally supposed to use as a superhero.
He said, what was the original proposed name by the... Okay, well, anyway... We'll continue on. That question's what has me kind of...
Yeah, if I'd understood the wording of the question, I would have said Alan Ladd immediately. I absolutely knew that.
Right. All right. Question 2. Independent, 1970s to 2000. In Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light comic series, what happened when Winterquick and Sindar crossed their staves?
Okay, that doesn't give an issue number, does it?
It does not.
Okay, and, well, now, I'm not sure if that even counts as independent, since the Visionaries series was a Star comic, which is a Marvel imprint.
Okay. Wow, judges are going to have their overtime on this one here.
Yeah, there are a lot of technicalities piling up on this submission, I'm afraid. Yeah, Winterquick's, well, his staff have conferred the power of speed, Sindar's the power of destruction. It'd be fun if they turned into a big winged gorilla, but that's more of a DC thing. I'm going to say that it caused a devastating backlash that threw both of them in opposite directions.
Well, you were right that their powers were speed and destruction, but combined it creates an earthquake.
Interesting.
All right. Question number 3, Marvel 2000s. In issue 7 of Mark Waid's Daredevil series, Matt Murdock is taking a group of children on a trip. What do all the children have in common?
They're all blind?
They're all blind.
I knew that one.
All right. So Adam yoinks it at the very end and saves it anyway. And actually, it's pretty good because Alex lives in London, so quite a hefty postage for you to mail out there.
Thank you for burying that lead, Brian, because I would have choked on my own throat if I'd known I was playing to save myself from transatlantic postage. But kudos to you, Alex, for asking a Visionaries question. That is a series that I'm still trying to collect. I only have about half of the issues. And hopefully there will be some new Visionaries comics to buy, read, and enjoy coming out from IDW sometime soon. I'm waiting for that announcement, because they're supposed to be a part of the Hasbro cinematic universe coming out. So there will need to be tie-in comics, of course.
Of course. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then I guess that'll wrap it up here for this episode. I want to thank everybody for joining along here. And as I'm stalling and trying to get my notes here because Shane's not here.
Sure. Well, let me thank you then, Brian, for the same reasons, for being here and playing along with the Off the Racks home game.
That's right. All right, and once again, this episode is brought to you by Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. And also brought to you by Collection Drawers. The makers of drawer boxes. Go to collectiondrawer.com to check out their drawer boxes. They are great. If you want to leave us a voicemail, again, our number is 267-702-6642. You can send us an email. We're comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. We're Comic Geek Speak. You can join in the conversation at thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com. We want to thank everyone who contributes to the show. We really appreciate it. Could not do without you. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
You got it on Wednesday, and you was psyched about it, going to the volume up. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From tapes to laser beams,